Right now, inside almost every person watching this, there are instructions written by another kind of human one that supposedly died out 40,000 years ago. If your family comes from anywhere outside Africa, very roughly 2% of your DNA is not modern human at all. It is Neanderthal. Around 47,000 years ago, our ancestors met them, lived beside them, and had children with them, and those children became us. They were never entirely lost. They are still here, carried in the bodies of billions of living people. And that is the first clue that the story you were told about them, the dim, brutish caveman of the cartoons, is almost completely wrong. This is the species we got wrong. Picture a Neanderthal, and you probably picture a stooped, shuffling brute, knees bent, head hung forward. That image is real, but it is a portrait of a single sick old man. Around 1911, one of the first near-complete Neanderthal skeletons, from a cave at La Chapelle-aux-Saints in France, was reconstructed for the world as a hunched, ape-like creature that could barely stand. What that reconstruction ignored was that this individual was crippled with arthritis, his spine bent by disease, not by biology. A healthy Neanderthal stood as upright as you do. The slouch we all picture was one man's illness, mistaken for an entire species. Here is a fact that unsettles people the first time they hear it. Neanderthals had bigger brains than we do. On average, a Neanderthal brain case held slightly more than a modern human's larger, not smaller. Brain size is not a clean dial for intelligence, and much of theirs was wired for vision and for driving those powerful bodies. But it demolishes the lazy assumption that these were dull near apes waiting to be replaced. Whatever happened behind those heavy brows, it happened inside a brain at least as large as the one you are using right now. And that body would have been terrifying to arm wrestle. They stood shorter than us, but were far heavier and more powerfully built, barrel-chested, thick-boned, with muscle no living human can match. Their skeletons carry a striking pattern of injuries, broken arms, cracked ribs, head wounds once famously likened to those of modern rodeo riders. The marks, many argued, of hunting enormous Ice Age animals at arm's length with handheld spears. That exact comparison is now debated, but the raw power in the bone is not. The dead tell us the most. At sites across Europe and the Near East, Neanderthals were placed in the ground deliberately, bodies curled on their sides, limbs arranged, sometimes in graves dug on purpose. At Shanidar Cave in Iraq, several individuals were laid to rest in the same spot over thousands of years, as if the place itself meant something. One was long called the flower burial, after ancient pollen found in the grave, though many now suspect burrowing animals carried that pollen in. So hold the flowers lightly. But the burials themselves are hard to explain away. Someone cared enough to lay their dead to rest, and long before our ancestors reached Europe, someone was already marking its caves. In 3 caves in Spain, red pigment, a ladder-like shape, hand stencils, a stained curtain of rock has been dated to more than 60,000 years old. That date is explosive because modern humans had not yet reached the continent. The only people there to make those marks were Neanderthals. The dating is still argued, and not everyone is convinced, but if it holds, then symbolic art, the thing we treat as the signature of the human mind, did not begin with us. They also wore jewelry. At a site in Croatia, researchers found the talons of white-tailed eagles that had been cut, polished, and strung together ornaments made around 130,000 years ago, long before modern humans were anywhere near. Elsewhere, they gathered colored shells and mineral pigments and used them to decorate. None of that keeps you alive. It is about meaning, about wanting to be seen, to signal, to adorn. The first synthetic material on Earth was not invented by us. It was made by Neanderthals out of tree bark at least 200,000 years ago. They learned to take birch bark and heat it carefully in a low-oxygen fire until it broke down into a thick black tar, a glue strong enough to lock a sharp stone point onto a wooden shaft. That sounds simple until you try it. It means holding a temperature inside a narrow band, with no pottery and no instruments. Making that glue well takes planning, memory, and a feel for how a material changes under heat, and Neanderthals were doing it for well over 100,000 years. Deeper still, inside a cave in southern France is one of the strangest things they left behind. More than 300 meters from the entrance, far beyond any daylight, someone broke hundreds of stalagmites into even lengths and built them into 2 deliberate rings on the cave floor, with traces of fire among them. This was made around 176,000 years ago. To be there at all in absolute darkness meant carrying fire, working together, and finding the way back out. No one knows what the rings were for, but they prove Neanderthals walked into the deep earth with purpose and design, more than 100,000 years before our species even existed, and they were masters of fire and they cooked. When scientists scrape the hardened plaque off Neanderthal teeth, they find the microscopic remains of cooked plants trapped inside. Roasted seeds, tubers, grains softened by heat. This was not a species gnawing frozen meat in the dark. Cooking unlocks energy that raw food keeps sealed away, one of the quiet technologies that make a big brain affordable to run. One skeleton from Shanidar Cave should change how you see them forever. He was a man who lived into old age, carrying devastating injuries, blind in one eye, with a withered, useless arm that may even have been amputated, and a damaged leg that left him limping. In a harsh Ice Age world, an injured hunter is usually a dead one unless other people carry him. This man survived his wounds for years. The likeliest explanation is that his group fed him, sheltered him, and kept him alive long after he could hunt for himself. The brute of the cartoons abandons the weak. The real Neanderthals, it seems, looked after their own. And they were no creatures of the cold plains alone. On the coast of Portugal, Neanderthals had been harvesting the sea mussels, clams, crabs, fish, even sharks, and roasting the catch, tens of thousands of years ago. Some of that shellfish only lives below the tide line, which means they were wading, and very likely diving, into the cold Atlantic to reach it. This is a coastal forager working the shoreline as skillfully as any modern beachcomber. They may even have been the first to use medicine. When researchers read the plaque on the teeth of a sick young Neanderthal from a cave in Spain, they found traces of two things with no food value at all: poplar, which carries the natural painkiller found in aspirin, and a mold that makes a natural antibiotic. An individual with a painful dental abscess appears to have been dosing himself with a painkiller and an antibiotic tens of thousands of years before either was formally discovered. The reading is debated, and one tooth is not a pharmacy, but it hints at people who knew that certain plants could heal. And what did they actually look like? Not the gray-skinned ogre of the museum diorama. Read the pigment genes straight out of Neanderthal DNA, and you find variants for pale skin, and in at least some individuals for red hair and freckles. Ginger, fair-skinned Neanderthals walked Ice Age Europe. Strip away the cartoon, and a Neanderthal on a modern street in a coat might not turn a single head. If the lost worlds of deep time are what you're here for, subscribe to the Earth before we bring back the worlds no camera could ever film. Could they talk? For a long time we assumed Neanderthals could only grunt. Then, in a cave in Israel, a tiny bone from the throat, the hyoid, the bone that anchors the tongue and makes speech possible, was found in a Neanderthal skeleton, and it was almost identical to ours. More recently, scientists rebuilt the little bones of the Neanderthal ear and found it tuned to precisely the band of frequencies that human speech uses, an ear built to receive language. Bone by bone, the evidence points one way. They were built to speak, and in all likelihood did in voices we will simply never hear. Now hold the whole span in your mind. Neanderthals appeared around 400,000 years ago and were gone by roughly 40,000 years ago. That is a reign of some 350,000 years, an unbroken run as a successful tool-making, fire-using kind of human. Our own species has existed for only about 300,000 years, and everything we call civilization for a few thousand. By the one measure that truly counts in deep time, how long you last, they were not a failed sketch on the way to us. They were one of the most durable kinds of human that ever existed. So why did they vanish, and we did not? The honest answer is that no one is certain, and the confident version, that we were simply cleverer and won, is the biggest myth of all. There is no clean evidence that Neanderthals lost a battle of wits. Their world was breaking apart, violent swings of climate, prey shifting under their feet, and populations that were always small and scattered, easy to snuff out one valley at a time. And into that fragile world came us, in growing numbers, breeding with them as we spread. They may not have been wiped out so much as absorbed, thinned, mixed, and folded into a larger tide. Which brings us back to where we began, to you. The last known Neanderthals held out at the very edge of Europe, in the sea caves of Gibraltar, until around 40,000 years ago, and then the fossils fall silent. But they never fully ended. Every time a person of non-African descent fights off an infection, feels pain in a certain way, or even responds differently to a modern virus, there is a fair chance a Neanderthal gene is quietly at work, their immune systems, their skin, their biology still running inside us. They did not lose to us. They joined us. And so the species we got most wrong turns out to be, in the most literal way, part of what we are. The Earth before us was never empty of minds like our own. It was crowded with them.